General Thrackmore of the Corvanian Dominion had conquered 17 star systems in his bloody rise to power. His crimson armor bore the scars of 1,000 battles, and his 4 arms wielded weapons that had carved through entire civilizations. When his warfleet descended upon the agricultural world of Kepler 442b, he expected another swift victory to add to his collection. The human colony was small, perhaps 50,000 souls scattered across vast farmlands that stretched beyond the horizon. No military installations, no defensive satellites, just endless fields of golden grain swaying in the alien breeze. It was almost insulting how easy this would be. Thrackmore's landing craft touched down in the town square with deliberate ceremony. The general emerged, flanked by his elite guard, their massive forms casting long shadows over the gathered humans. Men, women, and children had been herded together by his advanced scouts, their faces showing the expected mixture of fear and resignation. "I am General Thrackmore," his voice boomed through the translation devices. "Your world now belongs to the Dominion. Submit and your deaths will be swift. Resist and—" "Excuse me." The interruption came from an elderly human who stepped forward from the crowd. He was unremarkable in every way. Weathered hands, simple clothing, gray hair beneath a worn hat. He carried no weapon, showed no fear, just mild annoyance, as if Thrackmore had interrupted his afternoon chores. "I'm Thomas Hendricks," the farmer said calmly. "I've been growing wheat on this soil for 40 years. You're standing on my field." Thrackmore's soldiers raised their weapons, but the general held up a hand. This was too amusing. "Your field?" He laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Old fool, this entire world is mine now. You are nothing, less than the dirt beneath my feet." Thomas removed his hat and ran his fingers through his hair. "Well, now that's where you're wrong, son. See, you might have ships and guns, but you don't know the first thing about farming. About patience. About what it takes to make something grow in hostile conditions." The general's amusement turned to irritation. "What are you babbling about, human? 40 years ago, when I first came here, this soil wouldn't grow anything. Too acidic, they said. Wrong mineral content, but I didn't give up. I learned. I adapted. I made it work." Thomas gestured to the endless golden fields surrounding them. "You see pretty farmland. I see 40 years of problem solving." Thrackmore raised his plasma rifle. "Enough of your— You know what the interesting thing about wheat is?" Thomas continued as if the weapon wasn't pointed at his chest. "It's not originally from Earth. Humans took it everywhere we went, modified it, made it grow in places it had no business growing, made it stronger, made it survive. Silence. Same with corn, potatoes, soybeans, even the livestock." The farmer's voice remained steady. "Everything you see here is the result of humans taking something and making it better than it ever was. Improving it, weaponizing it, you might say." Several of Thrackmore's soldiers shifted nervously. Something in the human's tone had changed. Thomas smiled for the first time. "You asked about resistance, General. Thing is, you're standing in it." The first Corvanian soldier began convulsing, then another. Within moments, half of Thrackmore's elite guard were on their knees, their breathing apparatus failing as their lungs filled with fluid. What is this?" Thrackmore staggered, his own vision beginning to blur. "Airborne pathogen," Thomas explained clinically. "Custom designed for Corvanian respiratory systems. Been working on it for 3 years, ever since we detected your fleet in the outer system. Amazing what you can accomplish when you understand both agriculture and biochemistry." Thrackmore tried to raise his weapon, but his forearms felt like lead. The translation said, "This was a farming colony." "It is. We grow lots of things here, food, medicine, biological weapons. Depends on what's needed." Thomas put his hat back on. "See, General, you made a classic mistake. You looked at farmers and saw soft targets. But farmers are the ultimate survivors. We've been fighting hostile environments, predators, and disasters for thousands of years. We've learned to plan ahead, to prepare for every contingency." The general collapsed, his crimson armor clattering against the ground. Around him, his soldiers fell one by one. "Every breath you've taken since landing has been full of my crop's pollen. Modified, of course. Took some time to get the delayed release timing just right. But I'm patient. Farmers have to be. Thomas knelt beside the dying general. You want to know the really clever part? This same pathogen is already spreading through your fleet's air recycling systems. See, we've been broadcasting a distress signal since you arrived. Universal code for agricultural assistance. Your ship's computers automatically updated their atmospheric filters with our anti-contamination protocols. Thrackmore's eyes widened, in horror as he understood. Your entire invasion force is breathing it right now. Should have the same effect in about, 6 more hours. Enough time for your ships to return to Corvanian space and spread it to a few more worlds before anyone realizes what's happening. The general tried to speak but only managed a gurgling sound. Thomas stood and brushed the dirt from his knees. Like I said, son, 40 years of making things grow in hostile conditions, making them stronger, making them survive. He looked up at the Corvanian fleet hanging in the sky like dark birds. Your army won't be making it home, but my crops, they're going to flourish in Corvanian soil for generations. As Thrackmore drew his last breath, Thomas Hendricks walked back toward his farmhouse, already planning next season's planting schedule. Behind him, the golden fields swayed in the breeze, heavy with their deadly harvest. The lesson would echo across the galaxy. Never underestimate a human farmer. They know how to make anything grow, including revenge.